I've noticed that people are really intrigued about emotional intelligence. Somebody here would say that that is something that really intrigues them. And I have to tell you, emotional intelligence is something that I have given a lot of study to. And I use a particular model called the Dr. Ruben Baron model, who's actually the pioneer in emotional intelligence. And the whole subject of emotional intelligence could actually take on a 3-day seminar, which is why I mentioned here in the job search, because I'm going to provide an overview. And then we're going to go into we're just going to narrow it down because we only have about an hour, and there may be questions, and there's a lot to cover. I'm going to combine just some of the practical things that you need to do, as well as the emotional intelligence underlying some of that, and some of the things that we do that are not emotional intelligence. Which are all of us, right? We all want to learn how to be emotionally intelligent. Do we not? It just what it looks like is a lot of confidence, and people who are able to self-actualize and move through life. Have you noticed that there are people that are able? You look at a resume, you look at their lives, and they move from one job and career into the next, and it's just escalating, progressive, natural flow. Unforced, let's call it an unforced rhythm of flow, everything falling into place. Has anyone had that experience? Okay, a few have. Great. Well, let me provide you with the definition of emotional intelligence. And basically what it is, it's a set of social skills, emotional skills, and it has a lot to do with how we perceive ourselves and express ourselves, how we develop and maintain social relationships, are we able to do that, how you cope with challenges in life, and how you use the information that's given to you in a meaningful way. Are you picking up on cues? Do you see those cues? Or do you have blind spots about yourself and about the cues you are seeing? It also reflects the ability to manage your emotions. I think that all of us, have at times emotional experiences where we tend to react. Are we able to process that and respond in a way that is constructive and positive and shows empathy? And can we diffuse challenges? So that's very broad, and but that gives you an idea about how that might look. Someone who comes in with confidence, who's capable of going in and dealing with difficult challenges and resolving those conflicts and moving through life in a way that it is to their benefit, in their favor. I'm going to show you the model. So this is pretty comprehensive. Self-perception, and we talked about that. It all has to do with how we perceive ourselves. How do we regard ourselves, for example? Our emotional self-awareness, how we can express ourselves. Are we able to express ourselves? Are we passive? Are we aggressive? Are we able to communicate in a way that is neither passive or aggressive, but provides the necessary information and that you need to express without raising too much conflict? And not that conflict, is a bad thing. I'm not going to let me take the judgment out here, because there are people who are capable of expressing themselves in loud and angry voices, and they're successful, and there are a lot of men that do that, and it just rolls off their back. I grew up with 4 alpha males, and they're always, they're able to express themselves, but then they're able to love each other too. So it's all part of their self-expression. Some people are emotionally wound up and others are one of the things that I want to mention here, particularly for people who are in transition, is stress management. And while I'm not going to get into that too much, I just want to make a point of that. Because it's a time when you really need to pay attention to that and have a routine for yourself that is structured. If you're not working, you need to wake up with a definiteness of purpose. You're going to check your emails, you're going to check your job opportunities, you're going to set up a plan as to how you go about your job search, you're going to get your exercise. And it's very important as well to stay connected with people. Because during this course of time, people tend to withdraw, and that is not helpful. That is going to not give you the support that you need in this time of your transition. You need as much support as you can. Does anyone have any questions so far about this model and emotional intelligence?
Are there any tying to like personality types as well, or is model school a bunch of
no, because we all have different personality types. Some of us have different strengths and different weaknesses. For example, there may be a personality type who, under stress, withdraws. And if that's the case, then you need to keep in mind that if you are withdrawing, you need to get through that fear and push through it. And so the whole idea with going through what you're going through is that it's going to be uncomfortable. And the person who has the level of emotional intelligence is going to know, look, I can't sit at home. I'm not meeting people. I've got to get out. I've got to connect. I've got to get to workshops. I need to be involved and connect with others. So there is that tendency. The emotional intelligence is that you can see that blind spot, or it's not a blind spot. There's something to show it. If it is a blind spot, someone will let you know that it is. But to move out and to involved. So it really applies to all personality types. It's actually a matter of how we move through life, how we behave, how we perceive circumstances, and how we're reacting or responding to them. So it's also about self-awareness. So when you say, for personality type, really, how are you showing up? How are you showing up in life? How are you showing up at an interview? How do you show up, are you going to events? How are you showing up in your job search? And there are 3 approaches to, we go to self-perception. This is a bit more about, starting with self-awareness is very important for emotional intelligence, that you're aware of yourself and what you're doing. Are you aware that you've fallen into a rhythm of getting the things done that you need to do, or are you distracted, procrastinating, making excuses? Because, it's so easy to fall into that trap of, well, I'm not going to get to this task today that I need to find in a job because, well, I have other things to do, and this is when you need to make priorities. And so that self-awareness is real important, not only showing up in the but each and every day. Now, a couple of things about self-perception that really have been prominent in my experience with working with people here in their careers. And the first one is shining a light on the beliefs running in your program. There are so many beliefs that people have about themselves that are just not true. And they don't know it's not true. But the mind, believes it to be true, that, if they're a certain age, they can't get a job. or if they are an entrepreneur and want to move into another company. I've worked for companies before, but have had demonstrated some entrepreneurial spirit. They're not going to get a job. We just spoke with someone here on Saturday about that, and they may hear from someone that that's the case. They may hear from a recruiter. They may hear from a friend. They may just make it up in their mind, and yet I had to point out to the individual, wow, you've got some great marketing, business development experience, you've been an entrepreneur, you've done some operations, you'd like to move into a company and work for them. And go with a startup. Who better than a startup would want an entrepreneur? Those are people who have taken the initiative. And with marketing and business development, that's always needed as well, so it's a perfect fit. But the whole idea was that he had this belief in his mind that I didn't think about that. I just thought about the fact that somebody told me that being an entrepreneur and I having government experience, I'm not going to be able to get into the SaaS industry. So that's something to look at. We need to reality test our beliefs. And I think that asking for counsel with people in the industry is very important. You don't rely just on one particular bit of advice. You want to seek out others. And a lot of it's about gathering information and being able to discern the difference between what is true and what is not. What's a distortion? And what direction and what is reality? And what direction I need to go into. So a lot of people are oftentimes looking for direction. They get a little confused. Does anyone have perfect clarity about where they want to go and do? Some of you sounded like you did. And then how do you have the clarity about how to go about doing that? And so it's very important to watch what your mind is doing and what you're setting up as limitations for yourself. And as well, people sometimes may have a story about their experiences in life. They may carry that past experience at their job. They may carry that story that is not productive. They may carry that with them and take it into the next interview. And well, one example I had here, again, during these conversations with people, I talked, get a lot of information in this one woman. She was an attorney, had a great career in government. She was there 10 years, and the leadership changed. There was an issue of harassment, and she made a claim about that, but moved on. And she asked me, what do I do in an interview? How do I say that or talk about that, why I left that job in the interview? And I said, well, is it on your record? She said, no. Well then, why would you even bring it up? And so there are these beliefs that go in our mind that we have to do something a certain way, and it's not necessarily true. What you do, you don't want to sit down, for example, in an interview and talk about the boss who harassed people and had a hostile environment. Most people would want to leave, and so she, I think, had done so in a timely manner. But it's not something you need to bring up. And these are stories that go on in our minds that we don't realize are not to our benefit. And we would just say on an interview, that was a great experience. And talk about what the accomplishments were there and how that experience has prepared you for your next job. And you're looking at it positively, and then you would just say it was, change in leadership, change in culture, it was time to move on, and I found an opportunity that I think was the next step for me. So these are examples. And it's surprising how many people have them. You don't know that they have them until I start talking to them. And they start asking me questions about what their blocks are. Basically, people are talking to me about their beliefs and their blocks, what's stopping them, and what is so interesting about this phenomenon is that until you express it, you may not necessarily deal with it. It's a thorn on your mind. It's good to express it, discharge it, get rid of it, and recognize that it's time to move on, and we're going to start a new story and a new strategy. So you're basically really cleaning house in some ways, and creating a new life for yourself, and in a way, a new mind. And that, I think, is real important. The next we go to, again, self-awareness is showing up. What I want to discuss now are the approaches to the job search. So we're going to take some of this information that I just discussed about emotional intelligence, and we're going to narrow it down to what is really practical and what you need right now to take with you outside this door and start immediately. And again, just to recap, I addressed the self-perception, the beliefs, and the awareness, because this is really important for you to keep in mind. And if you don't have someone, a coach or someone to constantly let you know, talk to you about that, you may have to do some of that work yourself, or talk to other people, find a confidant, find counsel. How many have used a recruiter or are using a recruiter? Okay. And how has the experience been so far? Do you have any benefits? No one?
I'd say it's been frustrating.
It's been frustrating?
Yeah.
Tell me, why has it been frustrating?
I mean, I got an engagement, so I went and targeted a bunch of recruiters through LinkedIn, and I was trying to bypass just the pure play. These are executive recruiters versus the people that are doing the recruiting for companies, and they engaged me, they linked me in, and everything else, but they kind of ghost me in pretty much the next time. It's like some people had a line on a position, and I was very well qualified. It was like I'd written my resume on the job description. And they do the math on the first job, on the last job or the oldest job that you've had, and so that puts this guy in the 50 pluses. And so I don't carry that, but I think at the same time, all things being equal, they're going to kind of bias downward than upward on the age thing. I get that sense.
On the what?
They're going to kind of go ratchet downward on what they perceive to be age. It'll never come
age?
up. Yeah. It's kind of an outlier, it seems.
Now, as I recall, you're an executive, correct?
Yeah.
Remind me again, because when you spoke, I thought to myself, wow, that's a great industry for you, would be cybersecurity.
Right.
Which is growing, and it's very big, and they need people.
Right.
So I haven't seen your resume.
Right.
And I would think that a recruiter would bring you in, and you would have a conversation. But you're saying what's happened is that you've had those conversations, and then you're being ghosted.
Well, so I get an at-bat, but on the other hand, these are, just going out and trying to not blanket, but try to get a good handful of recruiters that don't necessarily have a specific job. So it's a little bit of hit or miss, whether there's a specific position that they are sponsoring or recruiting for. But I'll have conversations with some of them, and they're good, but it's I don't think I'm their sweet spot. I'll be very candid. I'll say, I arrived at this position as a chief of staff kind of late in my career, and it was the perfect job. It tied so many different things together depending on the company and their ambition. So, but yeah, to your point, they're still out there, and you just got to pull out all the stops. cover all the
Well,
bases.
I think that, I know my brother studied at least your age, possibly older, and he, he's a recruiter. And so this may be a belief you have that you are being ghosted because of age. There may be something, is it possible?
Could be a blind spot.
Is it possible it's something you said in the interview? Or did you ask? So the way to use a recruiter as well is to ask, they can be, they could be an advocate for you.
Right.
And they could be an advisor. Are you asking the recruiter how they see your marketability for the clients that you have and the positions that they have open?
I don't think I've had that conversation.
Okay, that's a conversation to have.
Yeah.
That way, you're not making up. You're hearing it from them. At least you're testing the reality of what you're thinking. Because it sounds to me as though you have a very good work history, and I don't see any reason why that you would not be able to continue in particularly in this market.
Yeah.
Which is it's a great market.
It is.
I mean, it's going. There are so many jobs, and they're needing people with that kind of talent. So it would be. These are things how to use a recruiter. I mean, what a great way to get a lot of good advice. Hopefully, they're willing to share that with you.
Right.
And if you have someone you can trust, it is a good idea to ask those questions. Well, and the other thing, what is my marketability in this market, or what my experience and what I would like to do? Do you have jobs? They just may not have the job opportunities.
Right.
What type of job opportunities do you have? Because you're feeling like you're being ghosted. It could be they just don't have those jobs, but oftentimes, was it a contingency or a retained search that you went to?
It's been retained
Okay.
mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, contingency. Yeah, I mean it's.
So they're going to be they're going to be looking at people that they can place, and they can only place the top 10%. So if you submitted your resume and you got an interview, well, that's a good sign,
Right.
as opposed to submitting your resume and not hearing back at all. So you feel ghosted, but in fact, they just may not have the job opportunities. And these are things that how you need to use the recruiter. Use your recruiter as an advisor, as an advocate about your marketability, about the positions they have, about the salaries in the niche that you're looking into. Then also you could say, you could even ask as well for feedback.
Right.
It's great to have a great opportunity to sit here and talk to you and have an interview. Is there anything that I need to know about my interview with you, or anything that you can share with me about what I can do in preparing myself for an interview? Any feedback? That'd be greatly appreciated.
Right.
Am I the type of person that you would like to present to your clients?
Right.
And that way, you're going to get feedback, and that is a lot more reliable than what you're telling yourself that it's all about the age. And so, they may be able to, some may even go so far as to give you a coaching and make some suggestions.
Right.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about, like, if you have coaches, like, you get just a, kind of like you're doing this session with someone that's working with you, every week, just kind of coaching, is that something that's a benefit in terms of?
Oh, I think it's great benefit. And I think that people don't probably do that enough. And there are lots of organizations here that are nonprofits, and I know over at Career Network Ministry, probably here as well, they have sessions on interviewing where you are actually going through the role play of the interviewing and getting feedback from people. And the other thing to do is, you know, given the technology we have with our selfies, our videos, take a video of yourself. And that way you can see how you're coming across. And not only take a video, the recording is good, not just for how you're coming across, but also what you're saying, how you're saying it, the tone, the inflection, whether there's confidence there or not. Because what these recruiters are looking for too, you know, you, as you pointed out, you could be on target one after another for that job. But they're looking at, they may think maybe your energy isn't, maybe they need a certain energy they're looking for. Maybe they need a certain level of confidence, because again, they're only going to go with the top 10% because it finds a paying fee for this. So you need to take all of that in. This is all part of your self-awareness. How are you showing up there, and are you feeling confident? Are you going in, and as someone mentioned to me here the other day, going into your Superman pose. Seriously, there is a YouTube video about how you show up in your suit, you know, to go into a Superman pose. Notice your body language. How are you standing? How are you feeling? And that can have an impact on the body language and the way that you are presenting yourself and your energy. So you go in really too casual and you think, well, this is just going to be, you know, sometimes people, I have noticed that in recruiting, that there are those individuals who come in and say, well, it's just the recruiter, and so I can just be myself. And, you know, I don't feel that excited today, but, you know, she'll, you know, she'll talk to me. You know, people actually do that. Or they tell me things that I really aren't in the best interest, or sabotaging themselves. So you really need to go into that recruiter and go in as if it is a formal interview with a client. And not many people often do that. It's good to establish a relationship, but that relationship needs to be professional and needs to be talking. You need to talk about, what is my market value? Where am I in the salary range? What are the types of positions that you have available for me? How often? And who else would you recommend to me that does fill those type of positions that I'm looking for? Any questions about that?
Where do you find recruiters and where do you find coaches?
Recruiters. Well, for one thing, you could go onto LinkedIn and you can do the search and hit recruiter. Hit the tab for recruiter, because oftentimes they're in the headline. For example, my headline will say, I'll say a couple of things, you know, career coach, talent acquisition, recruiter, speaker, and then a list of people will come up. You can also go online and Google and just look for example, the recruiter in SaaS technology. If that's something that you're interested in. And SaaS is very big, and so is cybersecurity, Internet of Things, and that's the big industry. And so, and associations. There are specific recruiters. I notice there are a number of people who are looking for associations. That's it, so Google that. You want to get as specific as possible. And there are companies that do, you know, whole broad range. They may be very large, and they may have your industry, but they may not have much of it. They may have specialized in IT, and they're doing some association work as well. And so I would call or look at their website and see how many people they're placing with associations, for example, and see if they have any openings online for that. That in itself is a task that you need to do in identifying your recruiter. You don't want to look at it as haphazard. You want to look at it very specifically, the same way you would if, when I'm looking, if I need a doctor and so you need someone who's an endocrinologist, you're going to look just for an endocrinologist. And if you need to get much more specific in other areas, do that. And it's all about your research skills and utilizing that. I would say a lot of this job search is going to be a great deal of time conducting research as well and gaining information. Any other questions about that? Yes.
So you used the phrase "your recruiter." Both I've done, or at least I thought I had done, quite a long time ago, the research and trying to find my recruiter. And what I found was that the recruiter, there is no such thing as my recruiter. The recruiter is working for the employer because I'm not paying the recruiter. So I sent in my resume, I looked at the job, and basically, like this gentleman here, pretty much no response. Finally, after several months, I actually did get an interview with one of the recruiters in my area. And again, the response was, well, we don't really have any job openings in your area, that are specific to you. We post all of our jobs online. Keep looking. If you see something that you think is interesting, let us know. So this person's not working for me.
Well,
so is there such a thing as my recruiter whose job is to find me a job? Does that exist?
No, that would be no, they don't. They're working for the, correct.
Exactly.
They're working for the client. But if you are in their list, there's what they would call a most placeable candidate list. Yes, this person who they believe can be a placement with one of their clients. You do have, it is a relationship with that recruiter. It's really a question of time. But I will be frank. If you submit your resume to a recruiter, you don't get any responses, then it's time. Then you just know. It's probably you have to determine. I spent enough time, done the research, put in the resume. This is not working for me. So let's go to the next approach.
And what if there are none? You've done that, and they're just
done that, been there, done that, and time to move on. That's where you go to the next strategy.
Yep.
You look at all of the options. I'm providing up here all of the options that are available for your job search right now. And the easiest. Sorry about that.
It's your recruiter calling.
Okay. The recruiter is the easiest option. I mean, how great is it if you get a phone call and you're working, or you have your LinkedIn profile up, and the current job is looking for an opportunity in as a COO in cybersecurity. And they call or they send you an email and say, we've got some venture-backed capital. We're opening up, starting a company in cybersecurity online, and we'd like to talk with you. That's great. You can't dismiss that. But that is, again, not going to be available for everyone. But if you haven't tried it, at least it's an approach, and it's something to explore. And you never know where, as you drop these seeds, where what's going to come up. But if you can get a recruiter to meet with you, then look at it as that maybe you've got only a 10% probability that they're going to work with you, right? So while you're there, you're using that time with them to be to ask questions about your marketability, and again, the things that I mentioned, and salary, and what can you do to, what can you tell me about my, interview presentation that I can take with you to get a job? And they may or may not be good. And so, they could be, but they could be a good advisor. Now we're going to move on. Go ahead,
I have
question.
a quick question. I'm trying to piggyback on the last two. So, excuse me, realistically, how long should you give a recruit? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months before you sort of move on?
Well, I think you move on immediately. What you do is you just, you start with your strategy and your plan. Let's find a recruiter. And you identify all of those that could possibly help you. You contact them, you wait to hear back, you don't hear back.
Well, that's, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but that's my question. So I've reached out to several recruiters, haven't heard back. So like after, I tend to do a weekly follow-up, or depending on who it is and where I'm with them, or within a 4-day follow-up, so I'm pretty good with follow-up. So I'm thinking like, for the recruiter, if I follow up every week for 3 weeks, like, is that a good point to move on and pivot to the next one, or, you know what I mean?
No, I think you start, you do, you don't even wait. You follow up maybe after a couple of weeks. You need to go directly to, you need to actually be using all of them, all of these approaches, and your network. And therefore, you don't, you know, when a financial advisor tells you never to put all your money in one stock, right? Well, it's the same thing with your job search. You don't put all of your time and efforts into one approach. You're going to use multiple approaches. You're going to use them simultaneously, and you're going to have more likely to have better results that way. Using the network is this is where you're going to advance all your contacts, needs and opportunities. Now, what I like about using the network is, what some people are not going to like about what I have to say about it, for reasons we discuss, is that you can reach out to friends, and referrals via email. You can show up at networking events. These, the networking that you do and meeting people and contacting people, just like you talk to the recruiter to get some advice, same thing as well. You're going to have insights as to where to go, new directions. Just like that gentleman said to me, nobody wants to hire an entrepreneur. Well, let's look at a startup cyber. And by the way, they're having BCA is having an event for cybersecurity stars. So there's a lot of people there.
Yep.
So it offers a lot of, also, it's really great about it, is if you've got a friend, and I've seen this happen, where someone is having lunch or you just made a connection, and that person says, check my job order, because I recall there's an opening for capture management. You would be great for that. And this person's in the RFP world, so they're saying, your resume. That person will hand carry your resume to the person you need to go to. And if you can get someone like that in a company, a very large company as well, to hand carry your resume to the appropriate person, then you've eliminated all the online application. And what goes on inside these organizations in terms of their recruiting, they actually want their employees, they encourage their employees to bring in referrals, and they pay them a referral fee because they would rather have employee referrals and have to go through the whole database and call people online. If they can hear from an inside employee, I met this person, I think they would be great for this job and would be a good fit in our culture. I strongly recommend you give them a call or contact.
it's kind of surprising how people are willing, they don't know you from Adam, and so you're triangulating on a company that you're interested in. And you reach out to somebody you've never reached out to before, and you say, I'm trying to raise my visibility with job X, Y, and Z, and just thought I'd reach out to you.
Well, I didn't say this was a cold call.
Well, I'm saying that you could even do that, and
Yeah.
it's amazing that people that don't know you from Adam just want to do the next right
And
thing.
that's true.
And
That takes a lot of chutzpah,
Yeah.
so to speak. That's emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
That's going online, and that is identifying with people that are in your niche and
Right.
asking them to, we're going to get to some things about
Okay.
that later.
Yeah.
But that's a great idea. Oh, also, we're going to get to that too. How you can do that with the Washington Business Journal. I just want to briefly finish up with this last approach, and that is obviously the online advertising, which has a plethora of positions with many different, Glassdoor and Monster and Career Builder, and it's just got so much available, and the opportunities are not all on there. A lot of recruiters have them that are not on there, and there may be opportunities that are coming about that people you may know of could also add to that. But you don't want to eliminate this, for sure. Again, we're utilizing all of these approaches. Okay, so we're just reviewing this as to how to use the recruiter. I don't know how I think some of the slides got mixed. But again, get the market test, competition, salary, and now, how to use your network. Again, you mentioned that it started, and a segue over to that area is about using LinkedIn and going on to LinkedIn to identify, you can do the search, identify with people who are in your industry, reach out to them, and connect. And then from connecting, it goes into, I'm really very interested in, in fact, I know a person who actually saw a job opening online, went on to LinkedIn, found out who the person was that was doing a hiring for that job, and connected with them. And let them know that they saw that opportunity, and this is, what they would like. They would love the opportunity to talk with them further. Well, that led to a hire. Oh, these are some good ideas for you.
Can I ask a question about that? How do companies react to that? Do they feel that may be a little intrusive, or do they like that kind of gumption?
Yeah, they like it.
You think?
Yeah, because it saves them time. Saves them time, it saves them money, they have chutzpah, they've got confidence. Look, we need people who can, that is emotional intelligence at its perfecto there. It's having those social skills, it's moving through the fear, it's using the right resource and targeting it and coming across with the connection and with the good reasoning and of course with the good resume. And that person, that she connected to, he may not want to wait until HR brings him someone. It's in sales and business development. He needs someone now. And HR is not always viewed in the light of getting things done quickly. You're laughing.
Put it so nicely.
Pardon?
You put it very diplomatically.
Okay, thank you. I tried. And so, yes, so that's another way. And then, of course, as we start here, the beginning with where you are attending these organizations and obtaining information. And the next thing to do, and this is going to take a lot of effort because you have to go into your contact list and you're going to get contacts and look at all your contacts and friends and send out emails notifying them of your purchase, notifying them of your job search, and requesting referrals for leads and informative interviews. Wow, that takes a lot of hustle, doesn't it? Let the world know, your contacts and friends, that you're in transition and you're looking for a job. Well, the reasons that there aren't that type of engagement or more of it is because people are embarrassed to ask for assistance. And this all comes with the whole idea of your self-regard and self-perception. In fact, I had, at one point in time, was at a forum, and a very bright, intelligent, successful woman lost her job. And the impact on that was so devastating that it was embarrassing to her. She didn't want to let anyone know that she didn't have a job. And that stuck around in her energy and everything she was doing, and nothing was happening. And, you know, how come things are not moving along? Well, just to show you how powerful your beliefs are and how they can sabotage you if they're not positive. You don't hold the self-regard and self-perception you need. She didn't get the job until she finally realized that she needed to talk to people about it and tell people. And wouldn't you know, she used this very method of her contacts and her friends and peers from previous jobs, and they referred her to the job that she ended up getting. Just as easy as that. So, and it may be that you didn't say, well, oh gosh, next time I'm really going to make sure I keep connected. So you always want to keep that in mind. Same thing goes for your references. When you're leaving a job, make sure that you have a letter to take with you. You have a place, people's names and places to contact. If it's in the last 10, 20 years, 20 is a little too long, but it depends on how often you change jobs. But to always stay in contact and keep that information. This is important tracking for your career. Things that you always need to be doing and staying in touch with people. And people don't always feel authentic, you know. And maybe you weren't very close with people. Well, you know, what does that show up as? That shows out, that tells you in terms of emotional intelligence, you're not developing and maintaining the social skills and relationships. So that's a real cue right there. That we look at the boron circle and method, that's something that hasn't been done that we need to start doing. So now you're going to be creating, you're learning from this experience of transition of what you've done, what you haven't done that you need to start doing. Yes?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just working with the camera.
Okay, you have relocated from another state and country. Well, that's reasonable. In fact, that's where probably many people who are relocating may be using the online services more than, have more connections. But they could use the LinkedIn service. They could use the LinkedIn connecting with people still, even if they are relocating. And you just don't know where people are. And sometimes you may think that, I don't know where people are, I'm not going to be bothered with that. And they all may still be available. Again, it's all what you're telling yourself until you finally get into your contact list and start dredging up your friends and contacts with past employees and LinkedIn. And then oftentimes people are just socially uncomfortable at networking. How many people feel really comfortable going out to an event that's in your industry and showing up and networking and having perhaps a business card with a resume or a short, maybe half page just about your background and experience? How many people do that? Good. Now, this is the last one. How do you do this? And what do you say? Well, I have solved that problem for you because I've written for you, and you can take a picture of it, or if these are available online, Tom, they want to, use it. But it's a sample of how to go about sending out that email, that dreaded email, letting people know you've lost your job and you're looking for another one. And do it in a way that gets their attention, and hopefully these people are empathetic and want to help one another, because they do it themselves. People who are successful do this themselves, so you reach out to those people. If they're not, if they find, if they take a negative attitude, that's not your problem. That's not, everybody goes through this scenario. So this is an example of a letter. You haven't seen someone in a while, but you want to just make a note. It's been over a year since the alumni party. Also, by the way, when you go on to LinkedIn and you start to connect with people in your network, you also want to connect with alumni groups. And again, people in your industry. And so this is, it's very simple that you are letting them know about your professional status, and you value what they have to offer you, and thoughts and feedback, and you do with the company, and you give your title, and you transition, you're looking for a new opportunity with the title, just as you did this morning, looking for a COO position in the particular industry.
I'm sorry?
What, in a particular industry?
Well, typically technology.
Technology. And the market economy is strong, and it lets them know that you're positive. And it's great. But I'd like to get some sound advice on how I can combine my network to find the next professional opportunity, asking them for help. And I think a very professional way, would you say? And we appreciate the time to chat briefly by phone and meet up for a cup of coffee, and letting them know when to reach out. It's a call to action. Any questions about this? Yes.
I do have a question. This is great, by the way, because I always struggle with the letter.
The writing. Yeah, I've done copywriting for so long. This is unique.
Okay.
I just made it up yesterday. But it looks for this presentation and this PowerPoint. I don't mind if you use it. And but it is. I think it really it just isn't. It's not too much. It's not too little. It's engaging. It's warm, and it's asking for help in a very professional manner.
But I did have a question.
And it's a call to action.
That's what I like about it. So it really sounds like get advice, go for coffee.
It's a call. And you would be surprised. I have done that myself on many occasions, and people are always open to have coffee or talk on the phone.
But I had a question about your last slide really fast. So I attended a thing on women in cyber on Friday, right? It was really great. It was networking. Everybody kept asking, oh, let's connect on LinkedIn. Like, is that what people are doing now? So I did social media for brands for a really long time. So my own social media is sort of, I've been off of it literally for a year because it just sometimes gets exhausting. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's connecting on LinkedIn.
Yes.
It's almost the business, the new business card, I guess. So
that's exactly what you do. Connect on LinkedIn. And then eventually, the more you connect with people on LinkedIn, the more connections you're going to have first, second degree, third degrees. Got you. Okay. So when you go in to do a search, unless you have the high-end premium LinkedIn for recruiters, which shows up the recruiter everybody, even those who they're not connected to.
So recruiters are looking who they're.
So there are different levels on LinkedIn in terms of what a recruiter will see. And so the more people you're connected with, the more people that come up that are being in your niche that you want to connect with.
Okay.
You see, you need to connect. So I connect. I'm very good about connecting because I'm probably in say, bacon is, 7 degrees away from all of us. Well, I'm probably you are 3 degrees away from me, and you don't even know it. So keep connecting. All right, so I'm going to move on. Any other questions?
The thing about reading it for coffee, I've tried it a few times, and the answer I always get is I'm really busy. Maybe I could talk to you on my commute on the way home, and I don't know how to respond to that.
Oh, that would be great.
I mean, it's not even.
That would be absolutely.
No, I mean that's just one thing, but a lot of them are like, well, maybe I might have a weekend, like a month from now,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the like.
What you need to do. This is taking people's time. And you need to be appreciative.
Right.
So if they think, I want to talk with you on the phone on the way home, that's great. That's what a lot of people like to do. They're
Right.
talking because they're, that's time that they can do a little multitasking, or maybe should not do that. But yes, you need to be positive about it. Well, if it's not, look, I know you probably were all busy. If you have just, 15 minutes, I have some, I would appreciate your thoughts and feedback on something that I'm exploring at this point.
But if it's someone who says, I really want to help you, but I don't have time to meet with you,
That's fine.
What's the
That's
next
fine.
step? I mean,
The
what
next
do
step
you-
is to
What do
say,
you say to them?
well, then I would say, well, gosh, I'm grateful that you love to help me. And I know that it's busy, but I would love to talk to you. You can do just as much over the phone as you can over a cup of coffee
Okay.
in less time. So you need to look at that. Yes.
So I guess my question is a bit of a follow-up on this and kind of back to the question about the reality check. So I've been doing this, or at least think I've been doing this for, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months. It's an extended period of time. I've kept the roster of who am I talking to, when was the last time I heard from them, is it a good time to check back, and kind of going around. And sometimes, I mean, every ranges from the I don't hear anything at all, to the, oh yeah, let's meet, to the, okay, we've met, but there isn't any follow-up. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the 9 months, I'm still sitting in this chair. So the reality check question is that telling me I'm doing this wrong? Is there something different I need to be doing?
Maybe there's something
better?
down deeper. Maybe there's something in the belief system, something else that's going on that's blocking you.
Or is it just that 9 months isn't enough time, and if I keep on plugging away, it'll eventually...
You may be going in the wrong direction. You may be doing all of these things that I'm talking to you about, but you're headed in the wrong direction. I don't know. I haven't seen your resume. But I can tell you, if I did have that resume in hand, and we talked about what direction you're going into, I could at least offer you insight as to whether that may be the issue. And then as I would talk to you about this experience you're having, other things start popping up out of people's minds and their beliefs, and then I begin to see, ooh, there it is. There's the gnarly virus. There's the problem. So it is not necessarily the fact that you are doing it. You're doing it right. So you just may be off on the tangent. You have a question, or are you trying to let me know I have very little time left?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, no.
Hi.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Was a similar question because I have sent some messages texting through LinkedIn. Some people that I met a few years ago, and I didn't have any answer. I don't know if they don't remember me or something. And also, I found a friend in a very important conference that I met 10 years ago. She remembered me. She hugged me, and we exchanged cards. And after a week, I asked her if we can have a coffee because I would like a feedback about my professional career because now I don't have a math, etc. But she didn't answer. I don't know if I should call her or something because she seemed that day very friendly and happy to see me after several years. And she worked just at the organization that I would like to work for.
People are like that. Look, I could ask my brother, for something, and I would be lucky to get, a little bit of his time because he's always so busy. He's very, very, very busy. Some people are just like that, but it's not because they don't like you.
No,
And it's not because they just don't have the time. They don't know what to, maybe they don't feel they can help you. that's where you need to just let things go and find out that didn't work, let's move on, next. So so don't get stuck in it. It's getting stuck in the quicksand. Do you want to tell me something? You've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on your letter. This is very good.
Oh.
Excellent. But one change I would make at the very end. I will reach out next week, let me know if any particular day or time is best. Instead of saying it that way, and I'll tell you, this is what I had to do as a headhunter, recruiter, you have to make an appointment. The best thing to say is, I will reach out to you next week, I will call you next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Please let me know if this time is convenient for you. You are then going to get a response. If you leave it up to the person to reach out to you, to give you a time and a day, you're going to, it's not going to work as quickly. So that's other than that, that's a very nice template.
Yeah.
But that's the only suggestion I would make.
Right. There are stronger calls to action.
Right.
This one is more with the expectation that you're going to reach out, and you could say you're giving them the heads up.
Right.
And then you're going to reach out next week. And then when you reach out next week and you send an email, I'm available all this time, what is your availability? That's another way to do it. But I do agree that, you could say, this is my availability. And I would, please let me know what day works for you. I agree, that's a good idea. So, moving on. Any other questions at this point? We talked about connecting. Don't forget, not only do people put your alumni groups and the industry groups and the subgroups as well. And then important, connect with recruiters from target open networkers. So the benefit to target, even if you don't get a response from a recruiter or even get a call in, the benefit to connecting with a recruiter from your target company, your target industry, going to open networkers to do that, is that they connect with you. You've just added on, oh gosh, thousands of second degree, third degree connections. So if you're not one, as this woman pointed out, having been keeping up with LinkedIn and connecting, just that right one connection could add volumes to your network. And people want to be open networkers because they want to add all the volumes to them. They want to be able to go online, put in any name or any industry or any filter, and be able to bring up as many of their connections as possible without being eliminated. Because what Microsoft now does is they have, since they've taken over, they've gotten rid of all the great benefits that recruiters have had in the past for identifying as many people as possible and filtering as many people as possible. And the reason that they've done that is because they now have all these other programs that are going to cost them more money. And then there are those of us who learn Boolean search, right, so we can do all of the searching online with on Google, and they know that. And you can write a good Boolean search string, you can bring up just exactly what you want to.
Yeah.
But they're trying to plug all these holes, and it's all about making money. Attending business events, I found that this is great. There are, and I'm just putting up a few here that I think are really good. And I've been to, I remember going to a DCA live event for cybersecurity stars, and met up with someone from business development who's with one of these premier accounting firms. And you just, sometimes the people you meet there, they want to help you. And he says, I want you to meet the CFO. And he introduced me to the CFO for one of these SaaS companies and said that he's looking for a job, so we connected. So if I place him in a job, after him referring me, well, maybe that person will then hire this accounting firm too. I mean, it's just all that connections that goes on. And it just keeps going and going. It's a gift that keeps giving. And so you'll need to go online, you'll need to check it out, you need to get the invitations that come in. They represent every single industry. And typically when they have an event going on, it's going to be with senior level people oftentimes. And recruiters, lots of recruiters. So another way to get some advice in an informal setting. You might get a little more advice too. You might get your resume. They may want your resume. And the Washington Business Journal is also an excellent source. Has anyone used that? You smiling, you're not.
I used to work there. So
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, there are a number of ways.
Yeah, they have all these events going on as well for people to attend. And they also have in the section movers and shakers. They always list those people who've gone from one job to another. In fact, you might want to look in there for those movers and shakers. Maybe look at someone who's just left a job. Maybe find out, call them, ask if they filled his position, because if they haven't, you'd like to be considered for it. Seriously. Or what can you tell me about, that company? It's a way to, again, always a way to connect. And it does also have, it comes with a book of lists. So you have a list of all the major companies and industries. These are the very big companies. So sometimes that's not always the way to go. You might want to look at lists as well and do searches for companies in the industry that are between small and medium. You may be able to do that on LinkedIn. I know in some of the program, for example, Sales Navigator, it's a little more expensive per month. It's costly, but there are ways to identify companies in your industry that may be small to medium size or startups. Also, I receive this regularly, and it's the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. That's for Fairfax County. I'm sure they have it for Maryland and probably for DC. That will send in information about those companies that are moving into the area, or companies in transition. So it's more information and leads for you to follow. It's a little more task oriented than just responding to an ad, but it can bring up ideas or insights or information that can be very helpful and fortuitous. And then, of course, I recommend always looking at other, there's much like the job opportunities and all the career boards and advertising. There are just as many social events and association events that are related to your industry that you can attend and meet with people as well. And it's really good to get out. I'll tell you another reason. If you're not getting the interviews, you're going to need the practice. And you could do so much of that with your coach or with someone who's a friend or taking a picture of a video of yourself. But when you start to get out, something happens in terms of your confidence. At first, you may feel uncomfortable with it, you may be afraid of it, you need to push through that. And every time you go through that veil, perhaps fear or discomfort, you discharge it, you get rid of it, you are then becoming more and more sure of yourself. You develop more confidence. And again, you have an opportunity to be able to talk with people. And you can use your elevator pitch. And I don't know how many of you here, that's a whole nother program in and of itself, but your elevator pitch, you need to have that elevator pitch, something that is probably 60 to 90 seconds that you can say that sounds comfortable, doesn't sound too pretentious. It's really a craft at developing an elevator pitch for you to go into that event and be able to say who it is, what it is you do, what it is you've accomplished, what you've done. I call it the past, the present, past, future formula. When you talk about presently, when you search for an opportunity, what you had accomplished in the past, what that has prepared you for the future, and what your specific, what differentiates you from your peers. So it's a whole different craft in and of itself, and you can take that with not only the long workshop or several times over. I think we're coming to a close at this point and looking at the time. Is that correct? I'm trying to keep it down to 11:30. And I wanted to, before we close, I wanted to ask if there are any other questions at this time that I can answer, help you with. No? Great. Well, it's been a pleasure to be here with you today. I hope that has offered some insights and information that will be helpful for you to take with you, and I wish you all the best. I did put this up here.
Do you want to come back?
And I realized I need to put my, I'm putting my LinkedIn profile.
Oh, okay, well, we can talk about that.